Welcome back, everyone. We are live today. It is early, very early. I don't think I've done a live this early before, probably in months. This early, it is 9 a.m. on a Sunday. Great to have everyone on. We already had some people waiting prior to the live started, and now those people are on. So we already have some numbers going up, but of course, we'll wait for the YouTube algorithm to kick in a little bit more. That way, we can get the ball rolling. All right, I do see some people. Very good, very good. And we'll do a sound check on my end. If you are first joining us, welcome. Go ahead and smash the like button. I'd appreciate that. But we will kick this live off in just a moment. All righty. Audio is good. So I do think we can get going. We're going to be talking about jobs. We're going to be talking about unemployment today. We're going to be talking about new word, new talks, new discussion from the President Biden's labor secretary, and in regard to the jobs numbers. And of course, he was pressed pretty harshly and scrutinized over these jobs numbers, and he responded to them. And we also got some word on unemployment. We actually did get somewhat of an update out of the labor secretary in regards to unemployment benefits. So that is the breaking news that we have as of today. Alrighty. If you are first joining us, as always, let us know we are tuning in from city, state, location. Go ahead and smash the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. I'd appreciate all of the above. And I'll say something in the chat just to kick it off here. Fantastic. So we're talking about jobs. We're talking about unemployment on this Sunday morning. We do have breaking news, some word from President Biden's labor secretary. And we'll be talking about the jobs numbers. We'll be talking about what he said. And here's a response to reporters as he was pressed harshly on this matter. So let's get going. Let's get started. There we go. The numbers are popping up a little bit there. I guess 9 a.m. had to start first, right? People got up at 9 a.m., I'm sure. So let's get it going. We'll be talking about the week jobs numbers reports that we received over the last couple of days. So we'll start with those numbers. The U.S. economy only added for the month of September 194,000 jobs in the month of September. And Labor Secretary Marty Walsh blamed the COVID-19 pandemic on September's disappointing jobs report that was released just on Friday. He said that the Delta variant affected economic activity and therefore job growth. But at that same time, right, in the same conversation, you can also say that unemployment benefits have ended for quite some time now. And so why are we still seeing these jobs numbers? He spoke on Fox News on Friday, shortly after the release of the September jobs report, and Walsh stressed that the U.S. is, quote, still dealing with the pandemic. He said, quote, we are still dealing with the Delta variant. And he pointed to the hospitality numbers, saying that about 74,000 jobs were gained in that sector, but acknowledged that the number was, quote, expected to be much higher. And he said that there are, quote, concerns around that. He wanted to say that the number absolutely would have been higher if we weren't dealing with the Delta variant. The number was under projected because of people's fear of going out to dinner and also people's fear of working in restaurants and hospitality and tourism, he said. And so even though the unemployment benefits expired, the U.S. Economy and employers still hired fewer workers than expected. So just we'll take a look at those numbers quickly. Non-farm payrolls increased by 194,000 workers in September as the unemployment rate fell to 4.8%, which is a pandemic low, the Labor Department said Friday. But economists surveyed by Refinitiv were expecting the addition of 500,000 new jobs and the unemployment rate to slip to 5.1%. And so Walsh said, we still have work to do. There is no question about it. Hello, Storm Ops. Good to have you on as always. Fantastic, fantastic. And he did, however, point out that the unemployment rate dropped below 5%. He said, quote, it took us until 2016 to get to that number in the Great Recession. There are opportunities here that we have in front of us, and we continue to move forward one step at a time, he said, stressing that, quote, we are living in unprecedented times. He also noted that countries around the world are, quote, dealing with the same thing as it pertains to, quote, concerns in the job market, given the worldwide pandemic. And this is the first jobs report, just so you understand, since the $300 per week supplement ended and expired on September 5th. And economists are still assessing the impact of the child tax credit, or the CTC, which of course pays families up to $3,600 a year. We've covered that in great detail over the months. Awesome store bops. Of course, he smashed a like button. Of course. Who wouldn't? So we don't understand necessarily the effect of the CTC just yet. We're still waiting on that data, and I'm sure we'll have that in the next coming weeks at least. But of course, just so you understand, the unemployment benefits did expire, and so it's still quite surprising that even with that expiration, unless all these families had money saved up, ready to go, which is not the case, especially if you're on unemployment. There's a good chance that you did not have money saved up. It is disappointing to see these jobs numbers, and we were expecting them to be much higher. So that is why these numbers are quite dismal, even though they might be considered good in some scenarios. So with that being said, Marty Walsh, he also said, of course, that we have work to do, and he found that the report was looking today as a complex report. He also actually kind of tried to spin it in a good way. He said, I don't think it's as bad as what everyone's reporting. He said, we look at the sectors. Obviously, we had 194,000 jobs, 317,000 in the private sector. We saw gains in manufacturing and retail that are good to see. In some other areas, the hospitality number, about 74,000 job gain there. Unfortunately, it's under what people projected, and there's a direct correlation to the rise in the Delta variant. He wanted to say also in the educational sector, this was not on Fox News, this was, by the way, a different report, a different interview. He said there's something going on there that we have to do some more research on, and particularly the educational public sector number. I think a lot of people expected with school starting that we'd see that number a lot higher, and certainly that number was, in some cases, not as disappointing. He cut off, I'll say it was disappointing. So he actually corrected himself a little bit there, and he was going to say it's not a disappointing number, but then he said it's disappointing. He actually corrected himself. That is right from the interview. And that is very true that with school starting, and it actually started earlier in other areas of the country, we should have seen much larger and substantial numbers in that sector. So that is certainly something to think about. Now, in regards to unemployment benefits, this is where he got into unemployment. So we spoke about the jobs numbers. We spoke about how they could have been a lot better. The unemployment benefits ending. We spoke about all the different sectors. But he actually did touch on unemployment benefits, which was quite interesting because we have not necessarily heard, especially from the Biden administration, we have heard little to nothing in regards to unemployment benefits after the expiration and the cutoff in early September. We have heard literally nothing. Now, we did actually do a video in regards to AOC and her plan, alongside another congresswoman, essentially including unemployment benefits inside of the President Biden Build Back Better agenda and putting it inside the multi-trillion-dollar spending plans. And that was something that AOC was considering and actually proposed, and we covered that. And that did not come to fruition, at least yet, because nothing has passed. However, as far as the Biden administration, we have heard literally nothing. White House has been pretty dead silent. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the last we heard probably was perhaps like a week after the unemployment benefits cut off. Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, she was asked about unemployment, but did not necessarily point to it in any way. She didn't really talk about it and kind of avoided the subject. So that's where we are as far as unemployment, but we did get an update today from Marty Walsh. So this is what Marty Walsh said. So we'll start with, of course, the fact that despite pandemic era unemployment benefits ending on Labor Day, the U.S. added just 194,000 new jobs in September. Biden's labor secretary says benefits won't return and the economy is headed in the right direction, according to Marty Walsh. However, the numbers, of course, show another month of the economic recovery has been hampered by the rise of the Delta variant, and September is also the first month in which the data takes into account the end of federal unemployment benefits. September's report shows that ending those federal benefits, which included an additional $300 weekly, as well as making gig workers newly eligible for checks, did not bring workers back. And we previously covered this in many videos, the fact that even though unemployment benefits were cut off, it did not necessarily have an automatic adverse effect on the unemployment rate. And so that is what we're still seeing. We're seeing a continuation of it. And if you look at the numbers, you would actually have no idea whether or not unemployment benefits are still going on or not if you look at the numbers. And that also tracks and is in line with research repeatedly showing that the 26 states who opted out of the federal benefits early saw little to no impact on employment, but did take an economic hit as a result of ending those programs, in fact. So it actually had the completely adverse effect. Marty Walsh said, quote, over the last 4 months, I've been answering questions about $300, keeping people out of the workforce, of course, pointing to the supplement. 26 states ended it earlier. We saw no data that showed that by ending unemployment benefits, there was higher participation in the workforce. The numbers, Storm Ops got 0 views. Uh-oh, sorry about that. Sorry to hear that. So Walsh added that, quote, the extra $300 didn't have as big of an impact on people joining the workforce as everyone thought it would have. However, when asked if he considered bringing back the enhanced benefits, Walsh said, quote, you don't need to. He said, we're heading in the right direction. The unemployment benefit was there because in the beginning, tens of millions of Americans were out of work overnight. Of course, the enhanced benefits were first enshrined as part of President Donald Trump's CARES Act with an additional $600 weekly at the time. The benefits wound down in July 2020, although an additional $300 weekly was tacked back on in December 2020. President Joe Biden extended the additional $300 a week through his American Rescue Plan, with those benefits winding down on Labor Day most recently. Walsh said, quote, when the president filed the American Rescue Plan at the beginning of his presidency, there was still high unemployment rates and still the need to support people because there really hadn't been a path forward. The past administration didn't have an economic recovery plan. Don't know where he's getting that from. Didn't have a plan to bring America back to work, and President Biden laid that out very clearly. Well, the fact is he's saying that the previous administration did not have an economic recovery plan. In the meantime, they signed all the previous stimulus bills into law, and President Trump even withheld and threatened to veto that last bill around Christmas time if it did not include everything he wanted to see. In fact, he wanted to see as little pork as possible in that plan. And so the fact that he's saying that isn't necessarily true, and he's attacking his predecessor and the predecessor's administration in a sense. So, hello, Paps. Good evening. Shout out from the Philippines. Oh, it's evening in the Philippines. Okay, well, it's very early right here in at least the East Coast. Well, actually, it's very early on the West Coast as well. But good to have Filipino viewers on. Good to have you. So that's what Walsh said in regards to unemployment benefits. In some sense, it was quite politically driven. I think he would have liked to see better numbers as well. Certainly he's hoping and betting on America. I think he would have liked to see better numbers, but the fact is that he's quite wrong in saying that, okay, Storm Ops lives in California, so it's, wow, only 6:12 a.m. there. I wonder if you're still up from last night or you're actually tuning in this morning. I'm curious. And so, of course, we would like to see better numbers, but he is wrong in saying that you don't need to extend the unemployment benefits because if you look at the numbers clearly show, and this is not breaking news. This is not new news in the sense that we already knew this. We already knew that early data from those 26 red states predominantly that made them cut off earlier in the year, around the summertime. We saw, and we reported it on this channel, that it had the opposite effect. It had the effect that people, wow, he is still up from 6:12. Okay, I appreciate that. Hopefully I'm like one of the last people you're watching on YouTube before you go to bed, because that's quite late. Although I've stayed up pretty late as well. 7, 8, 9 a.m. is not a taboo occurrence for me. Maybe we have the same schedule. So like I said, he's quite wrong in saying that you don't need to extend unemployment benefits, and we're on the, okay, good to know that you slept all day yesterday. He's quite wrong in that you can just let them continue, in the sense that let the economy continue at the pace it's going right now, and it will sort of work out on its own, and you don't really have to take any action in regards to it, and just kind of let it be, and it will automatically fix itself. That is not the case. I would have liked to hear some more optimistic, perhaps more actionable words from Marty Walsh, something that would actually make sense to apply to this economy, as opposed to just letting it go on its own and kind of, letting the chaos take its shape. So it is quite interesting to see that we're hearing that, especially from a Democratic administration. But that's where we are right now in regard to unemployment. And, if these numbers do continue, certainly we could potentially see a change of opinion, maybe a different course of action from the Biden administration. You have to think, if you continue to see these numbers, will we actually see renewed calls and rekindled calls to restore unemployment benefits? You just have to wonder if, when October's jobs report comes out, next month, which we'll cover, you have to wonder if you could now start seeing from lawmakers and maybe even the Biden administration renewed calls to extend unemployment. So we'll be covering that. We'll have to stay tuned and see what happens. But that's where we are right now in regards to the jobs numbers and unemployment. So I do hope you enjoyed this update. I thank everyone that hopped on this live stream so early, especially Storm Ops. He's up from last night, still watching. Appreciate that. If you did enjoy it, go ahead and smash the like button as always, and make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Click that big red button and that notification bell as well. That will notify you when we do post a brand new video or go live. And if you want to get some free stocks, all on me, use those links down below in the description of this video. Sign up with Robinhood and or Webull, the brokerage platforms. You'll get some free stocks, all on me, all free, no gimmicks, no sales pitch, and no obligations. Use those links down below. If you want to connect with me on social media outside of YouTube, go ahead and follow me on Instagram at Logan Cohn, LOGANKOHN. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Very kind words from Storm Ops. Thank you, thank you. Follow me on social media there. I hope you enjoyed this one. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next update. Take care for now and have a fantastic Columbus Day weekend.